So the Panopticon is a conceptual prison. It was designed by an English philosopher in the mid 1700s. Jeremy Bentham designed the prison as a circular type of cell design where all the cells are in one big circle with a singular guard tower in the middle. The cells all have an open side that faces the inside of this circle, therefore facing it to the guard tower. The idea is that the guard tower can look inside any prisoner's cell and see them at any time from this guard tower. The prisoners can be seen by the guard, but the guard cannot be seen by the prisoners, which means the prisoners never know when the guard is looking at them, which means every moment of their private lives inside this prison is observed by the guard because they don't know when it's not being observed by the guard, so they act accordingly. It's become a modern metaphor for social media. You've probably heard other people use it as a modern metaphor for the state of our internet lives. But I specifically want to talk about the Kinky Panopticon, the sexy Panopticon. The fact that for some reason your private sexual life is now the business of people on the internet. You might have heard of people who are anti-kink, or people who do not believe that the concept of sexual kinks or BDSM is ethical, even when between two consenting adult partners. You see this a lot in rad fem or radical feminist circles, where the idea that no kink in any capacity is ethical because they've all stemmed from some sort of negative thought pattern, and BDSM is just a way for men to abuse women. Obviously, this line of thinking goes with the idea that all kink is inherently misogynistic and rooted in the abuse of women at various ages, and therefore all kink and all BDSM sub-lifestyles are anti-feminist and a crime against women, again, even if it's between two consenting adults. Obviously, this argument leaves out all form of gay people, but you'll notice really quickly if you try to argue with rad femmes or anti-porn conservatives, they often are just homophobic as well. They leave gay people and trans people out of every conversation, and if they're not left out, then they're looked at as demons. So you can see where this this logic falls flat, because not all the people that participate in kink and BDSM are heterosexual couples where the woman is the submissive. So this idea that all kink is inherently misogynistic kind of fades quickly, or the idea that all kink is an excuse to abuse a woman, it dies on impact pretty quickly. But the reason I bring up the Panopticon in response to anti-kink people is that they genuinely feel like they are entitled to know what people do in their private time, and they feel entitled to police it and to tell people, even to consenting adults doing it together, to tell them that they are terrible, terrible people. This conversation is had a lot about the kink CNC, or consensual non-consent, which is a form of BDSM role play. A lot of things fall under the umbrella of CNC, but the greater idea is that you are role-playing a kink scenario that involves the idea of someone not being in a place of power or a place of consent. The role play can span from anything to the concept of somnophilia or a boss and an intern. You know, you're having couples play out these fantasy scenarios of one person has no power, one person has all the power. What does that look like? And sometimes these CNC role plays are more intense, active, impact play versions of BDSM. But again, as the name implies, consensual non-consent, the couple performing the scene is fully consenting and aware that it is a role play. No one is actually having their consent violated. In fact, these are two people willingly role-playing and participating in this thing together. Anyone who's participated in CNC is also fully aware that the submissive or the receiver is the one in charge of the scene. They set most, if not all, of the boundaries, and they will always be the ones to typically call it off if it gets too much. Obviously, the dominants or the givers have their own boundaries and stuff, but I'm talking about in CNC, the safety of the person who is the receiver of the impact play or the receiver of the intense role play. They're in full control of the scene. Obviously, consensual. Consensual is literally the first word of the kink term. But people online have decided that people who participate in CNC in the privacy of their own homes with a consenting adult partner need to be policed, need to be jailed, in some cases, need to be put down. Social media has made us feel deeply entitled to everyone's personal lives in a multitude of ways, and one of these ways is resulting in a very odd puritanical spike where everyone feels like they have to control what other people do in their bedroom. People have gone full conservative with the idea that someone's private sex life is now everyone's business. While in obvious ways we've all become the prisoner in this panopticon, some of us have also felt entitled to become the guard. While this is obviously a branch to Gen Z and Gen Alpha's continual sex negativity and odd conservative behavior around sex, I think this also speaks to a broader idea that humans are not supposed to know this much about each other and have become empathyless as a result. No, radfem343 on twitter.com. I don't think I will stop participating in things with my consenting adult partner just because you told me to. Quite frankly, you weren't invited to my sex life, so you don't get to tell me what to do with it. I would actually argue that the people telling you what you can and cannot do in bed are sexually harassing you, infringing your boundaries by talking about things involving sex and your body that they have not been invited to participate in. I would argue that these people claiming that kinks like BDSM or CNC, these people claiming that you are a bad, evil person for participating in them, I would argue that they are actually engaging in predatory behavior by trying to police a random person's sex life. I think that's a million times more dangerous than a role play between two consenting adults in their own private time. There are obviously critiques you can have about people who put their kink out into the world in spaces that are not appropriate for it. You should not have your partner on a leash at the mall. But when people are behind closed doors, I'm sorry, you have no right to be the guard of the panopticon. I don't care what you think. No normal adult cares about what you think. It is not normal for you to think this hard about other people's sex lives. It is not normal to try to be the guard of a kinky panopticon.